morning and welcome to the Northern Plains UAS Test Site's first Beyond the Buzz webinar. We're hoping to host these monthly to talk about a whole wide variety of topics, trends, and insights into the UAS and autonomous systems. So today we're going to be discussing what's a waiver, talking about the FAA waiver process, and discussing, how you guys can get a waiver as well, and some of the tips and tricks that we've learned as 10 years as one of the 7 federal FAA UAS test sites. So first, my name is Erin Raisler. I am the Deputy Exec Director for the Northern Plains UAS Test Site. Thank you for joining us today for Beyond the Buzz. I'd also like to quickly thank our host here in Grand Forks, The Hive, which is one of the best technology accelerators for UAS and autonomous systems, bringing together a whole host of companies that are working together to really advance UAS. So as we delve in today, like I said, welcome to Beyond the Buzz, talking about what's a waiver. So for everyone that is here and is flying UAS and is coming up with UAS operations, we have a wonderful rule book, right? Part 107. And that tells us everything that we can and want to do with UAS and the rules of the air that we need to follow and fly by. And it's a wonderful set of rules. But I will say that the industry and the innovative experts that are in the field come up with a few new ideas. And those new ideas really push beyond those rules and start challenging us to find new and innovative ways to fly. But there's a process for that. If you do want to fly beyond the existing rules, there is a way to get a waiver, meaning you're going to justify and make your safety case on why you can and should be able to fly beyond those rules. So if we look first at the Part 107 regulations, right at the end of Part 107, there is 107-205, and that lists all the different waivers that are subject to waiver. And so you can see the list on the screen here. And it's not all encompassing because you can also give exemptions to additional regulations, but we're not going to be talking about that today. So we'll just talk about the waivers. But waiving some of these rules do allow a whole wide variety of new operations. So how do you get a waiver? Well, let's go back a couple regulations in 107-200, and it gives you exact instructions on how to file and get a waiver. First and foremost, you got to really prove that your operation can still be conducted safely. So how do you do that? Well, the FAA asks for a complete description of the proposed operation and a justification that establishes that operation can be conducted safely. Said another way, you need a CONOPS and a safety case. So that's a lot of information, but it really doesn't tell us much. So how do we file a waiver? What do we do if we do develop a CONOPS and a safety case and go from there? So the FAA has developed some waiver application instructions, and you can find the link there, but it's also directly available on the FAA's website. And that FAA document talks about how to leverage an online processing tool called Drone Zone, and we'll be demonstrating that today. But as you build out the description of the operation, this document contains a little bit more on what you should contain within that CONOPS and what you should contain within that safety case. But really, it still leaves the questions to a lot of operators. How much do I need? Do I need 5 sentences? Do I need 5 pages? Or do I need to build 5 novels? Well, again, there are 2 great source documents that the FAA provides for applicants to really add additional information. The first one is the Waiver Safety Guidelines document. And the second one is an advisory circular called Advisory Circular 107-2A. So let's look at the first one, Waiver Application Guidelines. There's 2 versions of this document. One that talks about the waiver explanation guidelines and one that has guiding questions. It is our best practice and our recommendation as a test site to use the one with the guiding questions. Our experience has shown that if you don't answer all those questions in some form, FAA reviewers will probably come back and ask you some of those questions because that's the minimum information they need. So you and we can all do ourselves a favor and expedite the waiver process by ensuring we answer all those questions up front. The other document, Advisory Circular 107-205, or sorry, 2A, is 105 pages of pure lovely reading. And I mean that. It truly has a lot of content and a lot of information. And it's a lot more than just waivers. It provides guidance for all small UAS, as well as the context by which UAS was created, or CERT 107 was created. So you can see here it has some of this nice nuggets of information where it talks about 107 was a set of rules that came out in response to Section 333 of the FAA reauthorization of 2016. Wonderful, great. But again, might not be the information that you need when you're filing for your waiver. So it's a good document. It has a lot of great context. We do definitely recommend reading that for that broader UAS knowledge area, but not really the great one for waiver guidance. So let's go back to that waiver guidelines. The waiver guidelines really is that source document that's going to really help guide your answers and what content you need to put into your description of operations and your safety case. We recommend that you actually answer those questions in a direct question and answer format, as well as provide an entire narrative to your concept of operations. This isn't an FAA recommendation, or this isn't dictated by the FAA, but it is what we have found really articulates how we plan in our proposed operation to address the FAA's question in that question, answer format, as well as that additional narrative that provides who I am as a company, what I'm aiming to do, more about my pilot requirements, my pilot currency, aircraft requirements, my normal procedures, my emergency operating procedures, and in particular, how I'm going to still be able to safely conduct the operation while asking for an alternative set of rules, right? Because I'm not following 107 as it is written. So do I need to document this out in a separate document? You don't need to. We'll see in just a minute on Drone Zone how you have the opportunity to put all this content and all this information directly into the portal. However, that portal does limit formatting and that professional appearance and your ability to add pictures and additional content. So we always found as a test site it is our best practice to put in that box in the form on Drone Zone to see the attached documents, whether that be your concept of operations or your waiver safety guidelines or your safety case documentation. Because it is in that document, you can very clearly articulate pictures, other media, graphics, that show what your planned proposed operation is, as well as how you plan to conduct that safely. So what's going to be an acceptable answer? That first document, the waiver safety guidelines, talks about a list of questions that you as an applicant must answer. But again, what's going to be an acceptable answer to that question? The FAA also provides a Part 107 section-specific evaluation information. This does have a lot of really great information and examples of what type of information will be enough, what will not be enough, and then it lists some examples of operations that have been approved versus what won't be approved. But alas, we do still find this document sometimes falls short, and that's not a fault of the FAA. I actually get to attribute this to industry because industry keeps pushing further and farther and more and beyond. And we come up with new innovative ideas and strategies. And so it's difficult to keep this document up to date with all the possible ways in which you can still conduct an operation safely. So it's a great place to start. So it's worthwhile for you to review. But don't take this as the only way to answer the questions the FAA provides. Okay, so you've followed 107-200 and you've built your concept of operations, your ConOps document, and you've built your safety case. You've followed those waiver safety guidelines. You've added those in a question and answer format. You've added those in a narrative. Now what? Now is where we come to FAA Drone Zone. And it's a wonderful FAA portal where we get to enter all this information to submit our waiver package. It really is only 12 quick steps. And I'm going to demonstrate this more than just the steps here. So I'm quickly breeze through these 12 steps and then we'll go right to Drone Zone itself. So one, you'll log in. Scroll halfway down the page once you're logged in, and you're going to find a button for click that and create a 107 waiver or authorization. It's about halfway down the page. A pop-up will appear that will allow you to select operational waiver and then start application. From there, you're going to complete this first part of the waiver as a questionnaire. And this actually is not your waiver package, but it is questions that will help guide you as the applicant to seek waiver to the appropriate regulations. So go through the series of questions, answer them based upon the operation you are planning to propose. As a result, there will be an additional pop-up that comes up and it recommends which waivers that you are seeking relief from. It's really important at this step to ensure that the right regulations are selected. Because once you move on and you click continue, you will not be able in your waiver package, in your waiver application, to amend or change which regulations you're seeking waiver from. So take caution at this step, make sure you have all the right boxes checked, that you have all the regulations that you want to have waived. Enter in a title for your regulation or for your application and click submit. Now comes into actually entering your information for your package. You'll have to include who's going to be the responsible person for your company or your operation. That can be the same person as your remote pilot command, or it can be different. You enter in the appropriate information there. Then the next section of the document, again, our recommendation will be 2 boxes or several boxes that pop up associated with how many waivers that you're seeking or which regulations you're seeking waiver from. Our recommendation is to put in, see attached ConOps document or see attached waiver safety guidelines or whatever the name of your document is. But again, as an applicant, you can put in your direct proposed concept of operations or your safety case rationale right within that field there. Almost done. Step 11. Next part talks about the geographic location that you're asking for your operation from. And we propose putting that in a simple lat-long format. You'll also have the opportunity to include that in your concept of operations document with additional graphics, maps, and things like that. Again, just another reason why we recommend attaching that as a separate document. Last step, it'll take you to an additional page where you get to review the document or review your entire application and click submit. And that's it. That's a waiver in 12 steps. So I was challenged to do a waiver live for you guys. And so we're going to do just that. So let's file that waiver. We're going to propose that I have Aaron's innovative inspections that conducts oil well inspections out in Western North Dakota. However, my location as the pilot, I'm not going to travel to each oil well. I'm going to have a visual observer that is stationed at each oil well location that will be able to see and monitor not only the airspace, but my UAS at all times during the flight. So I'm conducting the operation as visual line of sight to a person and a crew member at all times, but not necessarily to myself as remote pilot command. That operation is not currently allowed by 107 rules today. But again, I can seek waiver from those rules to allow the operation to occur. Just one moment, and we're going to go to Drone Zone and file this waiver. Okay. So FAADroneZone.gov gives you access into the portal in which you are going to file and use for your waiver application. So you go ahead and log in or create an account if you have not before. And we're going to launch the dashboard. And you can see here as the test side, we have a lot of different waivers. But as you scroll down about halfway through the page, you'll see this create Part 107 waiver or authorization. Click that button and you'll see a pop-up that appears that gives you two options to ask for an airspace authorization or an operational waiver. We're seeking that operational waiver, so we'll start an application. As I talked about, the first part of this portal provides that questionnaire. And again, this questionnaire is to help guide the applicant to select the right regulations to which you're seeking waiver from. So we are going to conduct day operations for our proposed operation. I'm going to still be a small UAS, so maximum 54 pounds. I'm not going to be transporting property. I will be operating from a stationary location, so I will not be moving while I'm conducting the operation. And then visual line of sight. Now, if you'll notice, there is a prompt question underneath here to provide additional clarification. So will I, as the remote pilot, be able to see the aircraft, or I and the visual observer see the aircraft at all times during my operation? And the answer to this is no, because while I will have a visual observer see it, not the remote pilot and the visual observer will be able to see the aircraft throughout the entire flight. So for the visual observer role, so if I am flying beyond visual line of sight, the answer here is, will each visual observer be able to maintain line of sight and effective communication throughout the entire operation? Now, while I will be able to maintain effective communication, I will not have each of my visual observers being able to maintain line of sight. One visual observer may be able to maintain line of sight, while another may not, as proposed in my scenario with the graphic that I had up before. So I'm going to select no. You'll notice as I'm selecting some of these answers, on the right-hand side, it starts presenting what relevant waivers I should seek relief from. So as I go through visibility from control station, yes, I will still be able to conduct the operation because I will keep good weather. I'll be operating only a single aircraft. Yes, I'll be able to maintain right of way, my maximum ground speed, again, keep it to 107 regulations at 100 miles per hour, maximum altitude, not going to fly higher than 400 feet, and I will still be able to keep good distance from the clouds. Last section is, will I be operating over moving vehicles or people? Nope. And we continue on. There. And so this was the section I was talking about before. This is a critical part for us to make sure that we have the right boxes checked and the right relevant waiver selected, because you will not be able to continue or go back to this step of the waiver application. You can definitely start a new application. That's easy to do. As you've seen, I've only answered the questionnaire so far. I don't lose any of that work. So for my proposed operation, yes, I am going to be seeking relief from 107.31 as well as 107.33. I title my application, continue. So we're now at about step 3 and 4 of the process. I make sure my contact information is provided there, that my remote pilot, I am going to be the remote pilot for this operation, which makes it easy. I just get to check the box and click next. Now here is the heart and the meat of your waiver application. You can see the boxes that are provided for 107.31 and 107.33, where it asks for my waiver safety explanation. Now, again, this is where we recommend not just entering in, your proposed operation directly into this form. You have the opportunity to do that, but our recommendation instead is to entering content where it will say, see attached CONOPS. So we will do that now. Next section is talking about, when do I want to start these operations? Well, my first scheduled operation is August of this year. we'll put in that date. You'll see the note that you can't ask for a waiver that is longer than 48 calendar months. So, or 48 months. So we will put in the end date for the operation. And it can be less than that. So I only plan to conduct these oil inspections maybe for the next year because that is the length of my contract. The last step in this process would be to enter in the geographical location. So I have some sample text that I will enter in there. Be something similar to this, where I'm just going to put in that here's my proposed operations. It's going to be near this town. It's going to be defined by these lat longs. Once again, it asks for my maximum altitude. Not proposing to go any higher than 400 feet. And the last question it has is there any pending or approved waivers that are associated with this operation? And no, I haven't done these operations before, so I'm just going to select no and click continue. Now, this next section talks about the device details or your UAS aircraft details. And there's a small note in here that indicates that this is actually not a required section. And so a lot of times we simplify our waiver applications and just click next. You do not need to include aircraft information in that section of the package. If you are using a more advanced or a unique style aircraft in which some of the features or capabilities of that aircraft really justify your proposed operation or how you can conduct the operation safely, again, it is our recommendation to put that content directly into your ConOps document. The last step here is your review as well as the opportunity to add attachments. So we are going to our files. I'm going to select my ConOps and my safety case. Okay. Other document as well. And then after I've reviewed everything, the last step of the process is just to click submit. You would dare me? Yes, no, submit? Why not?
Do it.
We'll show you how easy this is.
Bet you can.
Done. One second here. So that is how you file a waiver. Quick recap. Our recommendation, log into Drone Zone, try it out. There's no harm in trying to go all the way up to the submit button or even hit the submit button if you have your package ready to go. Read the waiver safety guidelines documents, read those section-specific evaluation information, as well as read that advisory circular, which has a lot of additional content in, there for historical knowledge, as well as a wider variety of information for UAS operations. So now's the time for any questions, comments that you guys might have, things that you might have encountered in the industry, or questions that you might have in a broader sense beyond just waivers. Questions?
Nailed it.
Okay, well, again, thank you for joining us on Beyond the Buzz. We are holding these monthly webinars, and next month we will be talking about remote ID. So our Director of Operations, Jake DeForest, will be joining us on August 13th, back here at 9 a.m., both online as well as in person here at the Hive. And so we really hope that we've answered a few of your questions on what's a waiver. And next month, hopefully we'll answer a few of your questions on remote ID. Thank you for joining us on Beyond the Buzz. If you have any questions, reach out to the test site or reach out to the Hive at any time. And thank you.